Hello, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from the title, I am one of the unlucky few who got the opportunity to watch In the Interest of Love, and it has been a sad and hurtful and angsty roller coaster. And finally, episode 15 and 16 are out, and I can finally give my review on this entire show. So episode 15 starts off with our main character, Miss Anne. She is looking very stoic, she's looking very sad, it's very dark around her, and she seems to have done what we expected her to do, which is make a decision for herself. She has quit her job, she's moved out of her place like she was being chased by the police, and of course she doesn't tell Sang Soo that she's not gonna be there tomorrow. She just runs away. And I want to talk about her character a little bit for a minute. So, a lot of people feel like at the beginning of episode 1, when they had their date and he hesitated, why did she take that so personal? But as I've watched from episode 1 all the way to episode 15 and then 16, it's very easy to understand. Although on the outside she seems tough and confident and okay with herself regardless of what other people have to say, she has a lot of trauma that she's not really processed. And to me, it comes across like the first guy that she really liked in a long time hesitated. And she already probably feels insecure by the fact that they're not on the same socio-economic level. Even though he's not that rich either, it probably made her feel very insecure. And she doesn't seem like a bad person to me. She just seems like someone who doesn't know how to communicate or how to really put her brain and her heart together. Personally, for me, she's the kind of character who will do things with her heart and leave her brain behind. And then other times she'll think in a very strategic way, but then she doesn't use her heart. Moving on, we see Sang Soo going to her apartment. He passes by the movers, her furniture is ready to go. He enters her home and he realizes that it's empty and she's really gone. He also tries calling her, which I felt bad for him because I knew she wasn't going to pick up the phone, but he tries to call her. She doesn't pick up and he feels worse than before because a relationship that he kind of fought hard to be in, getting to the very end, and it blows up in his face. Also, side note, the way that he comes into her apartment and tries to call her and the way that his number is kind of blocked, it almost seems like she's running away from him. If this was a completely different kind of show and the music was different and the framing, he would look like a stalker and it would look creepy. And back at the bank, our favorite rich girl, Miss Park, has told her entire office that she's basically moving all the way to a different continent. She's going to the United States. I feel like the only reason why she's about to travel is because they don't know what else to do with her and they don't want to carry her storyline into episode 16, so it's just convenient to have her go away. I personally think she should have just stayed in Korea, obviously in a different tax bracket than him and the people at the bank, so she can be in Korea and never have to see them if that's her problem, but she wants to leave and that's her choice, and her money has given her that access, which is what her friends were trying to tell her when they had that reunion, I think in episode 4 or 5. And she just couldn't admit that she was privileged and money did give her access to certain things. And now when she's dealing with, a heartbreak and she wants to leave, she can decide not just to leave the company, but she can have her dad transfer her to a very nice place. And those are the kind of things that money gives you access to, but you can't act ignorant like you don't know why you have the things that you have. So due to Miss Anne leaving, the entire office decides to go out for barbecue night. They decide to go out for karaoke. And two things are revealed to wrap up the entire storyline. Number one, these two have a semi-honest conversation outside. And here's what I think about their conversation. Number one, I am never going to support people who hurt other people and say that I did it because I loved you or I did it because I liked you. It's a trope that I don't enjoy and I cannot stand behind that. If you wanted to break up with her because you didn't want to hurt her feelings, why don't you just say you don't want to be in the relationship anymore? Or why don't you just tell her that Look, your family came up to me and told me that I should leave you alone. Personally, that is what I would have done. If they threatened me with money, I'm taking the money and then I'm telling you that I took the money and your family told me to leave you alone. But I cannot stand behind someone who just constantly has to hurt somebody else and then try and justify it. Also, in their conversation, you realize that she is more mature, and that's how it comes across. She seems like somebody who has taken all the experiences, the trauma. She's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but you can see that she's grown a lot. And there's something bright and positive about her, which you often don't see in the second female lead, especially when they're rich and they have the resources to basically destroy your entire life. And once they're done having a conversation, like she said, he still seems like that kid when they were in university. He doesn't seem to have matured. He's the one that gave Miss Anne the idea. He's the one that said, look, this is what I did and it worked for me, so you can do it as well. That's a certain level of immaturity. So I'm happy that they had that conversation, and I'm glad that they didn't allude to the fact that these two could get together or date. She needs to meet someone new and she needs to focus on herself, at least for now. The other thing that happened, the two people in the office who I really dislike got together and had their moment, and the show frames it like a positive thing, as if these two were not bullying and talking behind Miss Anne's back, making her feel less than. This particular girl, I remember, she was really looking down on Anne because she didn't go to university. She felt better than her. And she's the one that spread the rumor, or was trying to spread the rumor, that she was having an affair with the overall head of the branch. So when they showed them kissing and, they got together, I was not excited for them. I was not happy for them. And yes, I was a hater. The next scene, we're back to Miss Anne, and she is in her childhood home. And the framing of this shot and how dark it is and the way she's just sitting on the floor in the darkness makes me think that they're trying to say that she's depressed or has some kind of mental health issue, or she just really needs a break. She's completely burnt out and she's back to a place that she probably feels safe. And so I think they try to make us sympathize with her a little bit more and understand that she's having a tough time. She's not doing this on a whim or just because she wants to. She's probably going through something. Next, we see everyone's least favorite potential police officer, and he's at Anne's old house. I have a lot to say about this character. Number one, I don't know why, and this is so funny to me, but in episode 1 or 2, at the very beginning of the two of them and their relationship, he's telling her how, she should just be positive and you can do anything if you're positive. And he just reminds me of those people who are not what they preach. They'll tell you a whole bunch of things that they don't live by, or people who don't realize that real life can interfere with having a quote-unquote positive mindset. So it's very funny to me that they gave him that line and then they humbled him real quick and then they had him depressed. And so for the entire rest of the episodes, he's depressed and angry, annoyed, angry, bitter, salty, and just an overall dark cloud to be around. And so I wasn't surprised when Anne went to his neighborhood to get him back and told him that he could live with her. I was not shocked that the relationship began to deteriorate. He failed his exams multiple times. He needed to study, but he still had to work. And just overall, he was very frustrated with his life. So of course, he was going to offset a lot of that emotional baggage onto her. It's not that I personally don't think that you shouldn't date a broke person or somebody with no money. I just think that they need to get to a space where they're confident in themselves and their ability to take care of themselves before they can enter into a relationship with you, because they are going to be angry and stressed and not happy, and they're not going to be that fun to be around when they have bills to pay and can't pay them. And so if you put yourself in a situation where you're dating them, you will now have to act like you're walking on eggshells constantly to make sure that you don't say something that will hurt their pride, especially if it's a guy. And I also think that if someone is broke or they're in a situation where things aren't great, it's just better to give them that space to grow and come up rather than try to mix love and romance and dates, which all cost money, into it, because it will just drain you. And now that I think about it, I think that's what really drained Anne. It wasn't the work, it wasn't the other relationship stuff. He drained her so bad that she basically needed a break and run all the way home. But I do want to add that I don't think he's a bad person. I just think he's immature. I also don't think that he's wrong for reacting the way that he did when he thought that his girlfriend was basically cheating on him. He had every right to feel the way that he did, and I don't think people should justify it just because we don't like him. I do think that he cared for her deeply, but the way in which he showed it and the way in which he came across wasn't right for the kind of person that she is. He probably needs somebody who's more upbeat and bright. That would probably work for him. And sometimes it's not that two people in a relationship are bad people, it's just that they're bad for each other. Sometimes personalities and characters and outlooks on life clash so much that it just makes being in the relationship hard, and a relationship should not be hard. Moving on, we get a scene with Miss Park and her family, which I would have not spoken about, but it really left an impact on me and I did shed a tear. Number one, she finally thanks her parents, or she thanks her dad, because she realizes that he's from a different generation, but he loves her and he shows love by giving her material things. And it may not be how she wants to receive love, but that is what he knows. And there was something quite sweet about the fact that he didn't have many words, but he had the right spirit. And she also admits that she hasn't always said thank you. And I think most of the time for a lot of people, we don't thank our parents. So that was a great reminder that you should always thank your parents or your guardian or anyone who really does anything for you. But another part that maybe you didn't notice was when she said to her mom that she's an adult, so her mom doesn't have to worry about her because, her friends have kids by now. And her mom's like, yes, because you don't have kids and because you're not married, that's why I'm worried about you. And I like the fact that she set her foot down. Just because you're a woman or a man or a single person and you're not married doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Maybe you haven't found the right person. It's not worth it to be in a marriage or a relationship just so that people will think that you're socially correct. And I'm happy that she was firm in her decision and she was poised and elegant. And I just really like the way that whole scene ended. And I really do like her parents. And I also like the fact that her mom went to Sang Soo's mom and they basically made up. The two of them are really cute, and I'm glad that that friendship will still continue. However, I am going to remove some goodwill points from Miss Park because she did ask Sang Soo to drive her to the airport. I don't understand it. He did it because he's a good guy. She should have gotten somebody else to do it. The only good thing I have to say about that scene is her outfit. Her airport outfit, her suitcases, her hair. She looked really good. A really good farewell scene for her. So moving on, we're back to Miss Anne and we're back to her town, and two important things happen. First of all, we discover that it's not her dad that had the affair, but it was her mom. And her dad just took the fall for that. And I don't really know how to feel about that. Like, on one hand, I'm like, yes, girl boss, because it's always the guys that are cheating. And on the other hand, I'm like, where is her apology to her dad? And where is the confrontation with her mom? But I guess she feels sorry for her mom, so she's decided just to let it go. And it's just weird for me for this information to be revealed right now, because I don't really see what it will do, because it kind of seems like she'd already forgiven her dad a little bit before she moved back home. But I guess this makes it okay for her to fully forgive him, and maybe their family can heal. But I don't know. The way everything was handled made it appear like she was finally okay with processing and accepting everything behind the scenes. She was ready to forgive and forget, which is great for her. But I would have liked to see a conversation, at least. So now after this, surprise, surprise, guess who finds who on the beach, and they reunite and they have a very cute date and spend the entire day together. And then of course, they have a very cute and intimate kiss. But all that I said is just sarcasm because I was not feeling their date and I was not feeling their kiss. It just felt fake and a repetition of what we've already been through, where they spend time together, it seems genuine, but then she bails on him. And she still gives the same answer that, she was afraid, and then he says, I was also afraid, and everybody's afraid, but the only person who's really making effort and trying to communicate is him. So I wasn't really feeling it. The date that they had was cute, but at this point, their relationship is so rocky that I'm unsure whether I should ship them or let them go. Also, and I'm going to include the video, that clip where he was smoking in that turtleneck and then turned around, oh my god, I didn't know he was that handsome. Okay, I see it. And then the episode finally ends with him buying a bus ticket back to Seoul, and she's going to stay in her town. And she does tell him that she will reconsider coming back to work at the bank, but the way that she operates, you can't really trust her word. And then he asks her that, when you come, or if you can, please call me. And she's like, I promise I will. And they have an uncomfortably long moment of just looking at each other. And you can tell that he is afraid. He has no idea if she's going to ever call him back. She might even move from her town and move to a different continent and then block him. Anyway, I have just one more episode and I'm ready to get it over with. I'm curious, but I just really want to know what happens next. Do they end up together? Do they break up? Does she finally end up happy? Does he end up happy? We will find out in episode 16, which I will be posting after this is uploaded. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like this video, subscribe, and hopefully I'll catch you in my next video.